Welcome and dobre pожаловать to the 29th Film Fest Hamburg. Today I have the big pleasure to talk to a filmmaker who probably is the only one to have collaborated throughout his career, both with Andrei Tarkovsky and Sylvester Stallone. With his films, he traveled all important festivals, won awards all over the world, and actually he doesn't have to prove anything to anyone anymore, but still he does incredible films. It's a pleasure, Andrei Konchalovsky, to talk to you today about your latest work, Dear Comrades.
Hello.
Mr. Konchalovsky, in June 1962, you were 24 years old, if I'm not mistaken. When did you fully realize what had happened in Nowotscherkassk?
Well, there were rumors, but just the rumors and whispers, but no one really. I never heard about it. Someone talking about openly. It was kind of not secret, but more of it, the rumors. Have you heard that something happened on the south like that? But no one, of course, no one talk about it openly, and also I don't think many people paid attention to, unless they were people from the south or the witness. But in Moscow, I have heard a couple of times, but very muted.
Mm-hmm. So, and officially then you heard about it after the fall of the Soviet Union, or when was
it? 1990. During Perestroika, many documents, many facts, many other social and political events that were muted or secret, they came out and people were talking about it more openly, and everything was in the press.
Okay. At the end of Dear Comrades, the party officials, they order a big party in response to the massacre. So my question is, does one dance to forget and, on the contrary, film to remember?
Historical events are remembered mostly by the people who were witnesses, who have suffered. But some historical events, terrible historical events that happened to people and suffering, but it happened 4 centuries ago. Of course, I think it's important to remember, but people really don't relate to it as emotionally. Let's say Luther. It's a great moment of German history and Protestantism and rebellion against Catholics. At that time, it was a really extraordinary event. But today we speak about it as a matter of fact. So the same thing. I mean, of course, for those who were witnessing and for those who were suffering, of course, it was more memorable than for young generation of Russian people today.
And did you meet any witness?
Not many people survived.
Yeah.
I mean, at that time of my age, people now, they were young, but they're all in my age or even older. So not many people, but I spoke with some witnesses. They were kids.
Let's talk a bit about the aesthetic of your film. There are some important crowd scenes in your film. How do you approach those scenes that involve a lot of people? What is important when conceiving these crowdy choreographies?
It's a question of profession. It's nothing more than professional understanding from the director's point of view, how to organize big masses in order to create certain effects. First, and then secondly, you have to find the proper point of view, where to put camera that it will look not fake. But the main thing, you have to basically create something that looks dangerous, but shouldn't be dangerous in reality.
There's a prayer scene in your film. It's set in one of the most unholy places than one can imagine for a prayer, at the toilet. So does religion come into play when all other ideology fell apart?
That depends on civilization, and that depends on history of each country. For me, it was important that this character, being a Stalinist and party member and staunch communist, at the same time has quite traditional religious roots. But I think that religious beliefs and beliefs in communism has similar provenance, very idealistic, and you have to believe in it more than now. And belief is an irrational thing. It's not something that is based on scientific proof.
Can one believe in cinema?
That depends. Cinema is a form of knowledge. Cinema is the form of human effort to understand understand the sense of life. In that sense, every art is attempt to understand, but in the form of images or verse or sounds or music. But altogether, it's sensuality, it's a sensitive effort to understand, not rational,
all right,
not scientific.
Do you comprehend your film more as a historical film, or more as a historical tragedy?
No, I consider my film, this film, as a attempt to make a Hellenistic tragedy, like Medea or Antigone, as an eternal tragedy of human spirit and feeling of mother and feeling of human and feeling of a fall of beliefs. Like every tragedy is not about physical violence, it's about spiritual violence. It's about crash of certain ideas. And I wanted to make a Greek tragedy, but of course it has a political connotation. And the political connotation, of course, becomes for some people more important than artistic quality.
And in the end as well, the reunion of the mother and daughter, I think it feels almost romantic when those both women are arm in arm on the rooftop. And the last words that are spoken are, "We shall be better." Was it important to you that this, despite all the tragedy in the film, it is ending on a hopeful note?
You know, there there are not things that are not important for me in any film I'm doing. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. Especially because I'm writing my scripts myself. But the word that gives hope is a kind of medicine. People need hope. Mm-hmm. And those who give hope are blessed.
Has the film already been distributed in Russia?
Oh, yes, has been distributed, yeah.
And have there been any troubles, or did you fear that the Russian Ministry of Culture would do any trouble? No.
I didn't have any fear, and as a matter of fact, I'm lightheaded in that time. I just want to make a film, and then we will see the results. But I think director or whatever artist that makes a piece of art, let it be music or film or play or novel, of course, he cannot avoid certain doubts how the film is going to be, or a novel is going to be perceived by people, by critics, and it's not nice to have bad critics, and it's not nice to have an audience that yawn while film is going on. Of course, every artist hopes that his piece was going to be accepted or loved, or because what is the purpose? The purpose of each piece of art is desire of an artist to share his sentiments about this or that, or to share his sentiment of seeing a sunset or a smell of flower or whatever. He wants to share it with others, and if it's shared, he thinks that he succeeded. If it's not shared, or it went through without leaving a shadow, it's a fail. But in a sense, you cannot think about it all the time. You have to be ready that your film or your novel is going to be forgotten next day. That's why, in order to compensate these fears and sense of inferiority in front of other directors or whoever who are more successful and have a tremendous success, etc., I psych myself that I'm doing my film to put it under my bed, and I will have it under my bed and see it only myself. And when you think about it that way, of course, it's much easier to make films because you feel yourself free. That kind of freedom is not easy to get. You always, especially if you have a producer that is thinking thinking how he will get his money back in case of Hollywood production, then you're under strict control. Someone who checks every shot, in a sense, is it going to be commercial or not? Then you're not free at all.
Was that one reason why you left the States and went back to Russia?
One of the reasons is that I'm as a Soviet film director, I was spoiled by freedom, not freedom, but possibility to make films in Russia as big as I wanted, whatever I wanted, if I don't touch certain sensitive political points. So in Soviet Union, the censorship was political, and it's easy to avoid and make piece of art, like Tarkovsky. But in Hollywood, particularly, there is censorship of commercial, of a market. So how more money you have for the film, less freedom you have.
One special character that I liked a lot. So even though he drinks a lot, the character of the grandfather in your film,
Yeah.
he's from the very beginning one of the most clear-sighted characters. You know, he's also some sort of cynical comic relief. For example, when he jokes about ending the suffering of the Russian people with an American nuclear bomb. So I had to laugh a lot in all the scenes where he appeared. So I was thinking, did you have anyone in particular in mind as a model for this character?
No. You know, as a matter of fact, usually the director has one model in his head, it's himself. In every character, partially it's himself. Of course, some of the parts are more confessional, like Bergman's characters of the priest, or Fellini, who is just making a great film about film director, which is completely a confession, it's confession. It was not very difficult to write this thing because I was thinking about a long time. I'm sure that this film is not, this film can be perceived by the Western audience as a very political film about suppression during the Soviet Union. And maybe it's going to be perceived this way. Quite possible, I presume, but I cannot do anything else that I've done. It's a film of a Soviet person. I am a Soviet because I was born there, I was studying there, I was formed. At the same time, it's a film about fear that was in the Soviet state. Yeah, the last thing I wanted to tell the audience.
Yes.
I think it's very important for the audience, for me, more important for me, that the audience is going to be perplexed. In a sense, perplexed, because I don't want to make people, to divide people on bad and good.
Yeah.
Of course, there are very bad people in life, and there are some very good people in life. But life is ambivalent, and every good person can do bad things, and even a bad person can have a soft spot. So in that sense, for me, it's important that the audience decide itself who is good and who is not so.
Mr. Konchalovsky, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you about your film, Dear Comrades, and I hope we will meet again speaking of your next work.
Thank you.